Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
We are absolutely ready for the event.
WJLA-TV, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
Station, this is WJLA-TV. How do you hear me?
I've got you loud and clear up here.
Sounds great, Commander. Thanks so much for joining us. We're excited for this opportunity, and I have to begin by talking to you about life in microgravity. I know this is your first mission up there. How is it faring so far? I understand you had to bungee cord yourself to a wall the other night.
So far, it's really, it's quite a joy. It takes a couple days to get used to it. It took me about a week or two, and then I felt pretty good. And yes, I did. I usually like to sleep on my stomach when I'm down on Earth, and so the other night I tried to put some bungee cords across the back of my body and just bungee cord myself to the wall. And it worked pretty well. I slept for a few hours, but then I woke up and went back to the good old sleeping bag, which I have tied off to my wall in the room.
All right, innovation even up in space regarding sleep habits. We like that. Down here on Earth, we love to follow all of your progress, and I think it's fascinating via social media because you're really good about this, everything from the tweets to the vines. And I'm curious, some of your favorites. We've seen really some fascinating imagery. The lightning storm over Italy was just absolutely beautiful, and then, of course, you took some pictures of us back here in your home area. What's your favorite, and what do you enjoy most about all this?
Oh, what do I enjoy most? Working with my crew is phenomenal. Looking outside is incredible. And just getting to float around up here, that I really enjoy. The feedback on Twitter has been fantastic. Some of my favorite images, definitely I took a picture of Italy a couple weeks ago that was just amazing. But I'd say the most visually amazing is when you look outside, either far up to the north or far down to the south, and you get to see the aurora. It's like you're swimming along with these green, slowly weaving lights in the sky, and it's really absolutely amazing.
Now, Chris Hadfield set the bar pretty high with his Space Oddity version. Do you have any desire, any pressure to compete?
Absolutely no desire and no pressure to compete with Chris Hadfield. Plus, I can't sing, so it would be pretty much a disaster anyway.
It is interesting, though, that it helps kind of repopularize space exploration for a younger generation or a generation that's more tuned to social media. There is now a responsibility, perhaps, for you when you're up there to kind of keep people back here abreast of what you're doing and generate some more interest. Is that right?
Well, it's definitely a personal decision. NASA appreciates it if we decide to go to Twitter or Instagram or any of those social media outlets. But we're one of 6 people right now living off of our planet, and I think we kind of have an obligation to share this experience. This is an incredible place that we're getting the honor to live and work in, and it's something that people are really curious about, and it's such a unique environment. It's great to be able to share it. And I think photos and especially the Vine videos really help kind of bring it alive.
Now, before we get into the science of all this, the research that you're conducting up there, I am curious. You're a local boy done good, essentially. You have literally made it to the top. You've got your family back here in the Maryland, D.C., and Virginia area. What is it about seeing home from above, from that far above? Does it kind of strike an emotional chord with you?
Oh, it definitely does. When you can look down and in one glance, I can see Virginia Beach all the way up through Maryland, all the way up to New York City. And here's, with just a few very small exceptions, this is every place I've ever lived and every person I've really ever had a relationship with. My parents, my wife's whole family is from that area, all my friends from college up in New York. And you can just take one glance, just shift your gaze a little bit, and you cover all of that. It's amazing how tiny it makes the East Coast of the U.S. look, and really the whole world is just, we go around once every 90 minutes. It's actually a pretty small place when you look at it from up here.
small from your vantage point, big from ours, right? What about communicating with your friends and family back here in the DMV area? And is the best way for them to catch up with you, to follow you on social media, or is it going to be watching a story like ours tonight? How do you like to communicate with the family?
I'll take any communication I can get from up here. So Twitter is fantastic. If people want to follow along for the ride, they can take the doses as they see fit. And, of course, catching a little news story about guys up in space, I think that's superb.
Let's talk about all the work up there. A lot of scientific research, as always, on the ISS, but in particular, you've got some mission that you are probably pretty excited about more than any others. I know the ATV is coming, I believe, tomorrow. So can you talk to us a little bit about what you're doing up there and how it's going to benefit us all in the future?
Well, right now you're with me in the U.S. laboratory, and it looks like a pretty quiet environment, but just here to my left, we're doing some capillary flow research to see how we can move fluid around without even using a pump. And I'm looking at the display. It's pretty good stuff. It's a German experiment going on. Right over here to my left is a furnace, and I've put a few of the videos on Vine where we're igniting floating spheres of fire just to see what happens to them. And there's some really unexpected results, which can help with car engines, but really we're looking at helping us up here in future spacecraft design. I'm also doing some colloidal experiments down there. Actually, ground is monitoring them with this really powerful telescope. You also just mentioned the ATV, the cargo vehicle that the European Space Agency launched a week and a half, about 2 weeks ago, and that's bringing something that we're all really excited about. It's an electromagnetic levitator, and we'll actually take molten spheres of alloys, and using magnet levitation, we will actually balance them out and see what happens to these things, see what happens to the crystallization processes in there, and it's going to be really quite amazing for us up here to get to be a part of that.
Anything fun on that ATV that's perhaps not data related? Or, is any supplies you're just excited to finally get some time with there, or get your hands on?
For me, I love food. I've said that to everyone that I can. And my German crewmate, he has some special, there will be some German food on there that if he doesn't share, I'm going to make sure I get some anyway. When he's not looking, I'll sneak a few cans for myself. So that's why I'm really looking forward to getting some of that good European German food up here.
All right, we've just got a couple minutes left, but I'm curious if I can bring you back to the local ties here, since you do have your family and friends here, and we'll broadcast this tonight. What kind of messages you might want to send back home? You've got the floor here, and you've got a good minute.
Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, I love you all. When I look down, especially on the Chesapeake Bay, I remember my childhood eating Maryland blue crabs down Ocean City, going out fishing on the Chesapeake there, and it's such a great place. We live in, especially in that D.C., Maryland, Baltimore area. Great summers, pretty good winters, can play in the snow. I miss it all the way around. It's such a great place to grow up, and I hope someday soon I can get back there with my family and continue on with our lives.
That sounds great, Reid. Last question for you. What surprised you most so far about your time in space? I know that you prepare so much for these missions, but it is your first time up there. What surprised you most, and what's the hardest part? What's the easiest part?
Well, what surprised me most was I trained essentially for 2.5 years for this mission, and I thought I had everything pretty wired in my brain. But when you get up here and come onto the space station and you don't have the component of gravity that you always had in training, wow, it rewires your brain almost immediately. I felt so disorganized, so confused, so out of place when I first got up here. It takes a little while to get used to it. So that was the hardest thing. I actually thought losing gravity would be fun, and it is. It's great. But wow, for the first few days, it crushes your head. And so that was actually the hardest at the beginning, and now it's almost the easiest because you can just take a 300-pound object and just push it with your finger and move it all the way across the U.S. lab with no problem at all. So hardest at first, easiest in the end.
Reid, we're proud of you here back home. Thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us, and of course we'll share your comments with friends and family. Thanks a lot, and enjoy your time up there.
Excellent. I appreciate the time, Scott. Great talking to you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the WJLA-TV interview.
Thank you, WJLA-TV. Station, please stand by while we reconfigure video and audio communications for your next message.